Hi, and welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. I'm looking forward to my discussion today with Chris from BerganKDV. Chris, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Excited to be here, Deneen. My name's Chris Gallo. I am a shareholder at BerganKDV. I lead our financial accounting advisory services team. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's intentional. I think I'll probably get into that a little bit later. A little bit about me. I started my career in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill and kind of learned the subtle differences, which are actually very extreme, between federal tax and state and local tax. And 6 years on Capitol Hill, I learned kind of the world is, past saving. So I got out of politics, which I thought was what I was going to do, and really kind of entered the business world, which was kind of my passion anyway. Moved back to the Midwest and worked for a number of kind of small risk management firms in the state and local tax world. And in that world, it's primarily sales tax, but very much around credits and incentives, unclaimed property, worker opportunity tax credits, the whole SALT gamut income at a state level. Joined BerganKDV in 2015 to start and stand up their state and local tax practice. At the time, it was kind of done the traditional way, where whoever picked up an audit for a client in sales tax or state and local, kind of ran with it. BerganKDV had recently merged, so it was a merger of two similar, about $20 million firms at the time, expanding into a regional presence, and so they kind of had a need for a state and local director, and I had been consulting almost exclusively for them for a couple of years anyway, so it was a natural fit. Over that time, so it was a couple of years, what was that, 16, 17, 18, 2018, right, Wayfair hits the SALT world, right? That's either the gift or the nightmare that keeps on giving. As a SALT director at the time, that it was a gift that really was giving to us because we had the capacity to advise. And we'll kind of get into it, but through the use of technology and building that practice in, let's see, 3 years ago, almost coming to the date, I became what is known in the industry as the client accounting director, right? The director of FAAS. And the firm was really making a strategic move at that time to stop doing it the old way and start doing it the new way. Right. And having done, SALT the new way, we're like, that's pretty cool. What do you think about, taking on the client accounting world? It's like, sure, why not? And, we had we still have, my right-hand person, Christy Revering, the best CAS leader in the world, if you ask me, was running at the time and had kind of really grown the practice to a certain point. I like this story. Our president said, look, one of you two can lead this. I don't care who it is. As an EOS shop, you have a visionary in the
Yeah.
And she's like, look, I don't want to be, I'm not a visionary, and I don't want to be. I said, great, I do. And so that was a neat conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, good. I love that. Yeah, we're EOS too, so I love that.
Yeah, and so fast forward to today, I like to say I recently became a shareholder last year through the growth, and it's so here we are today.
Well, and thank you for the background, and I like that you call it FAAS, right? It's Financial Accounting Advisory Services. A lot of firms are calling it CAS. Call it what you want. It's a really fast new revenue source for firms that are focusing on it. And I like your background, so I appreciate you sharing your background, because from knowing you when you started off in the sales and use tax, and you built a very profitable, very quickly, sales and use tax practice. I love how they said, okay, you know how to build, right, new practices on the foundation of technology. We want you to focus on building out CAS as well, or FAAS for you, right? And so, this is what I'd love for you to focus on, is a couple of things. One, you're not married to the way it's always been done. And I think that's why you're having such huge profitable success. Like, you want to come in, break it all down. And so can you share sort of when you came, it's great that you have Christy who was building it, but when you came, as that visionary, as that leader, can you kind of share what you evaluated and started putting into place?
Yeah, you bet. So what we did, a little bit around FAAS is kind of market tested that, right? We said the commentary, as we all know, right, really is around advisory. Like the clients, and we were seeing it. We'd lose clients, and it's easy to lose clients when somebody comes and says, "Yeah, we'll talk to you about, your P&L," instead of just producing it. And so advisory was kind of the new wave. We're like, well, that's got to be a part of what we're doing, what we're saying. So we changed and really tested that name, Financial Accounting Advisory Services Team. And it sounds nice as an acronym, it's FAAS, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was the official change, both externally, which was fairly easy to do, but the internals really still the ongoing difficult thing to do. And change management is not easy. And I think, I liken my success and the team's success to me just being a hard-headed pain in the what around, hey, this is the way that we're going to do it. And the firm at the executive level supported that, right? I made far more enemies than I made friends, that's for sure. And to do this day, it still sometimes feels like the WWE wrestling ring, where it's like,
it's a true challenge, right? Internally, educating internally how this is different and what you're doing. There are some internal politics that I hear often, which is why in this new, building up this new revenue source, you need a really strong leader that's okay with doing it differently and not having everybody be aligned. But I think what you've shared with me is you had leadership support. So they kind of were like, keep doing what you're doing. And what I'd love for you to share is the revenue that's following. So if you're open to kind of talking about what your goals were last year, and then what your numbers, what you hit, as well as what your goals are this year, I think it's impressive. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about that as well.
I think it's kind of a fun story, actually. And anybody going into this will probably follow a similar path. When I took over, right, it was kind of like we took all of the client accounting people out of the markets that they were in and joined it, put them together in a team, right? And we didn't know what the budget was even going to look like. So day one, I started underwater, under budget, because all of the tax practitioners in the best intention, right?
Yeah.
Never really looked at client accounting as a budget level, right? As a revenue source.
And the revenue generator.
That knew it could be. That was the intent here, right? So we're like, all right, how much are they doing? Well, it was all inflated. So the budget was just wrong from the beginning, and we all can chuckle about that now. But roughly, in kind of rough numbers, we started at about $2 million ish. Last year, we've seen 100% growth year over year over year. So last year we did about 4 top line. Wow. This year we've just recast to 8, right? At about just 7.9, we'll probably do that. And then, well, we're also rolling kind of another division that we have that is client accounting in a different world. It's charter school specific.
Okay.
And that's a $4 million business. So that's rolling into what we're doing. Okay. So we'll be 12, and we know that. And then, we expect, I don't see 20, 30, 40% growth slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, I know there's the demand. There's definitely the client demand, right? There's no doubt that, and that's one thing that you talk about is you're very client centric, right? You are talking to the customer and asking, what do you want, right? And so that I make sure I'm delivering the services that the client really needs. And you're capitalizing on this demand, right? Clients don't want to do it. They want to outsource it and they want your help, but they want your help analyzing everything and advising, not just closing the books. So congratulations on your huge success. And I'd love for you to kind of share, I know you have these 4 pillars that you're talking to your team about and your customers about. So I'd love for you to talk about that as well.
Yeah, you bet. It's even more fun on the whiteboard. I'll share. I'll save us all the time. Yeah, the 4 pillars really to success kind of just came to me, I guess, after saying it enough times and kind of really, you try a bunch of things. We like to say we fail fast, which we do. We'll we'll start something, and if it's just not going to take off, we'll change. But keep the good, throw out the bad, and keep going. 4 pillars really that I subscribe to. I think anybody can, right? It's your path, you build it. But really, one is I don't build anything and try and sell it, right? So we're not talking about anything here like, hey, this is a great idea, let's go see if the market wants it. No, pillar one is to listen to the market, and the market is, right, conferences, right? It's you guys, it's our 15-person sales team that's like, hey, we're hearing this problem all the time. It's internal, it's external, it's everything that you can think of. Where are you hearing the noise and the need, right? And that's advisory when we started this. So we start with the market. Then pillar number 2 is we turn around and we ask ourselves, do we want to solve that problem? If yes, can we solve that problem, right? If both of those are yes, then what technology are we going to use to solve that issue and grow? If you're not, I mean, sales tax, I started with technology on the Vertex platform, right? You're not going to grow and expand if you don't change the way you're doing something and implement some type of technology. And we've got it all over the place. So technology is going to be the platform for how we're going to solve the problem. Then what we do is we take that to sales and say, how do you want to talk about this in the marketplace, right? I like to say we're a bunch of operational accounting nerds. We're not talking the sales talk. We've got very smart, sophisticated people that lead our sales team. And so they craft, right? We bundle, we package what we're doing, right? And that's the technology. That's our process. That's all the good stuff. They take it to the market and they talk about it. Pillar number 4 is the internal process. So once all of that happens, the sales are created. It's actually how do we get the work done? And you have to have those 4 successful pillars. Otherwise, if any one of them fails in our world, the whole thing fails.
Yep. I just took some notes because I have like 4 things that I wanted to dig into that you just said. But first, the thing that you said that makes me want to be like, oh, is that, you're an early adopter, right? You are okay with trying things out, and it doesn't have to be perfect because you will course correct along the way. And I love that you said that you failed and then figure out what didn't work and did work, and you shift, right? And so that's really a challenge for firms. They kind of want to watch what everybody else is doing to make sure that it works before. And so you're an early adopter, you're a leader, you are okay with it not being perfect because you just got it, you're going to figure it out. You're tenacious, right? And go ahead. I'll let you kind of touch on that a little.
Well, the word you used is funny because we take all of these, self evaluation things, the bosses and the HR and everybody wants to know about you. Tenacious is one of the words that just came up that describes me. And I think it is. It's, I like to say I'm no smarter than anybody else, that's for sure, but I just kind of refuse to fail once we've decided that we're going to do this. Right. So I also like to say technology will do maybe 7 out of 10 things that you in technology tells you that it's going to do. So you've got to expect failure. You absolutely have to expect failure and just be okay with it. When we start, I have a lot of isms. We're gonna pivot. Everybody laughs when I say that. You gotta be ready for that. There's gonna be hurdles, right? Sometimes it's the crack in the sidewalk, and somebody just needs to tell you, hey, you should step over that, right? Sometimes there's huge walls that you got to go around. We build the vision, but we have no idea how we're going to get there, right? So I know where we're going, but it's going to depend.
I love it. Well, and that was the other thing, with that mindset of it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to fail and fail and fail, but all the way I'm going to be winning and making it work. Is that second pillar, which is technology. Okay, we know where the vision is, where we want to go, but rather than throw people at it, you're pretty bullish about throwing technology at it and putting new processes in place around the technology to automate. And so as a Botkeeper firm, right, we're still learning on where we fit into your process, right? It's not like, boom, everything's solved, right? You're the partner that's going to help us help you right? And you might not be the technical person, but you are hiring some really talented technology people to break the technology, build the technology. Like you're just going to bring that talent into the firm to push that technology as far as it'll let you go, which is unique. So could you speak more on that?
Yeah, you bet. Well, your story's a fun one too. I've told you this before, but right, as the visionary, I've got all kinds of crazy ideas, and a lot of them really are. The integrator, as an EOS firm, is the filter between crazy and the people who have to handle that, right? Take it on. And Botkeeper came to me from somewhere, I don't know, it was somewhere, like, ooh, great, yeah, we're gonna do this. And I'll keep it clean, as my integrator says, are you crazy? No way. So timing is a big issue, right? We're trying to do all of these things, and it's like incorporating more new technology, let alone it's AI and Botkeeper that's like revolutionary at the time, right? You got to be kidding. It was a hard no, but I knew, I'm like, that we're going there.
Right.
So for a year, as we're working out the integrator visionary roles, I'm how about now? No. No. Now, no. And it's just like quarterly, no, no, no. And you and I were there at whatever it was.
Right.
This is a strategy that I'd love to express to anybody listening. Take your key people with you to events so they can understand, like, oh, I got it. Now is so we turn and we use technology, right? And again, it's not perfect. It doesn't fit exactly what we're doing. So we're willing to adapt. If our partners are willing to adapt, we'll smash it and break it, keep it current in the industry, give you the feedback, and then build the platform better for the both of us. That's every single technology engagement that we have with our partners. I want to be the biggest user. I want to be the best user, and I mean that. I want to spend the most out of anybody, so we can then talk and have some insight to the roadmap.
Collaborate, right? Like you truly want to partner with the technology to collaborate, and it's not going to be perfect, but we want to be the partner to help you get there. So we listen, right? And a lot of the technology companies, they actually really do listen, but I think what I have found in leaders like you, and I like your EOS scenario of how you have the visionary and then you have the implementer, right? The implementer tends to slow down the crazy, the madman, right? The madman's out there, they're trying to pull you down and ground you and say, I know you've got the vision, I know you're looking to go, but we have to do some things to get there, right? And then talking to the partner in technology about how to get there. You need both players. What I find at a lot of firms, though, is the person that's the no, right? Is that they can't push past the way it's always been done. It's very hard for them, right, to push past the way it's always been done. So what I heard you say is you started, sending those people to conferences, to hearing from the other visionaries and to hearing from the other firms who are having successes, so that some aha moments happen to then come back and say, hey, we can change into, and felt more comfortable. So talk more about sort of how that's evolved, with you, pushing so hard.
Well, yeah, it's one of our clients, and there are so many of them that are doing things by hand, right? I mean, it's quite literally walking in the door and handing us papers to written in pencil for us to transfer, and you can't do that, right? And so digital transformation being a very real thing, right? Everybody's heard it. It's not easy, and it's evolving so fast it's hard to keep up with. So you instead of me going out there and be like, hey, these are all the ideas, this is what I've heard, and bringing it back to the people who are doing the work and that I asked to implement these things, and being like, what having no understanding of the why, right? And then me just asking to go figure out how. It just wasn't working, and then by accident I learned, like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Let's just take the people so they can learn the why, right, from the other leaders in the industry, and just say, okay, now we're going to take this on with the full expectation it is going to fail. That's awesome. That's the platform. This is going to fail. Let's just do it once, and then see what, number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and iterations are going to look like.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge. I've seen this be a real challenge for CAS leads because typically leadership doesn't want you to fail, right? They want you to prove it. Like, hey, we're hearing everybody else is doing this. Go over here, make it happen. But I always say it's a new revenue source. It really is new. It's not what it's always been. It is a new revenue source that needs new technology, new talent, new process, and needs a budget. It needs a budget that you're allowed to like not fail with, right? But what are you committing from a budget? If we're going to hire a new talent and we're going to use new technology, you got to give me a budget to build something new. And that's been a challenge where they're just like, hey, everybody else is sort of doing CAS, go and do it, but they want them to be successful. They're not willing to let them fail. So, having someone like you kind of protect the team is huge, right? As well as give them the freedom to fail is huge. But that's some of the internal politics, if you're willing to share, what's the battle been?
Yeah, it varies. The battle did not come in my world necessarily from the top. It was endorsed right from the top. So we have a very, very forward thinking executive team. A lot of people know Dave Hennikamp. I mean, he's leading the firm revolution as well, right? In digital transformation. It's in our genetics. And my boss at the time, who was our president, Earl Edinburgh, they both were committed to at least giving it a try. I like to say I had a long leash to fail, right? And where the real pushback came from was internally when you took right staff from people that could walk out their door and say, hey, could you do this?
Mhm.
And I had to physically stand outside this door right here with my team, be like, stop, you got to stop doing that. We don't do it like that anymore. And I mean, it was brutal. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but sometimes it does. They try to circumvent the process because they want to do work that is cleanup work. We don't do
Not
that.
profitable. Yeah.
It's predictable monthly revenue, right? And we took clients from write up work where we used to get excited about $10,000. I don't even get out of my chair. And this is honest. I don't even get excited until we're like 80, 90, $100,000 now per engagement. Like
Good.
80, ooh, that's a good one, right?
Right.
Where it used to be 20. And so
Right.
we've moved the ball so far that
Right.
$200,000 to $300,000 engagements in the client accounting world are not uncommon.
Yep. Well, and that's an evolution. That doesn't happen right away. But I have seen firms in the journey where you are starting to say no to the wrong type of client. You are also okay saying no to the wrong kind of revenue because you've seen and started saying yes to the right type of client that will do it with your people and your process and your technology at your price point, right? And so it gets easier to kind of start saying no because you've got to protect your talent to be available for the right, larger revenue type clients. But saying no to those partners is not easy. And I,
Yeah,
I like hearing you
that's
say
a
that
fact.
doesn't happen as more, huh?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It still happens, right? So you're not going to succeed in changing. Back in the salt day, I used to have to call partners and be like, why'd you write me off? Like, oh well, why'd you
Yeah.
go? Just like, hey, because that's you
Yep.
need an answer to the question, right? Let's just stop doing that. So
Yep.
eventually, once you get it right, there's plenty of people who are like, well, I couldn't argue with the P&L anymore.
Right.
So gotcha,
Right.
right?
Once that
It,
revenue ball starts rolling and they see the revenue and the engagements that you're bringing in, but it takes time. I think it takes time, and you're further along in the journey where proof is in the pudding. You're now able to say, this is my vision. I knew this is where we were getting to. Stop sending me the wrong. That's not what we do. And I've
and
said, go ahead.
well, what you'll find here is the reason we were doing some of these things is because nobody really thought to just ask like, hey, you want us to do this monthly instead of an annual cleanup? And
Really?
we didn't have clients leave. They're like, yeah, great idea. And it actually makes it easier what we found for the tax team instead of cleaning
Totally.
stuff up. It's just like here
Totally.
it is packaged all nicely for you. So
Right.
you don't lose engagements. You build actually stronger relationships with your client.
Got it. That's
But
the
you got
advice.
to show that a whole bunch of times because it's for some reason or another very counterintuitive.
I love
Yeah.
it. Well, and that's something that when I'm working with cast leads, I'll say during tax season, have your tax partner ask one question. Would you not like to pay us at the end of the year to clean this up? Would you like to pay us monthly to have clean records monthly? It's a simple question, right? And what you're finding is clients are saying, sure, sure, right?
Great. When you get, I don't know if it's good at it, but it evolved into, you can package your tax in too. And as advisors, right, we're trying to be predictable for our clients. We're trying to make our clients predictable to their P&L, or their P&L predictable to them, right? When the heartbeat of that, the business is that financial statement, right? You don't need wealth management or payroll if you're not making any money. Your tax return can't always be negative. I guess it could, but eventually it's going to, the roll forward is going to catch up with you, right? If you're making enough money. So while we're advising our clients to act right in a predictable manner and get that predictable revenue, we offer to be predictable.
Huh.
We'll just do this for $10,000 a month. Okay, great, right? And they don't have to wonder if it's 2 or 15.
Right.
They know it's going to be 10. And then we can build a team around that because we know it's going to be a predictable revenue stream. It's not a lot different. It's just done differently.
I think it's the way you talk to the customer that's different, right? Where you talk about the problems that you can solve for them and how you can help them with their business, not just their tax. And it's good because, traditionally a lot of firms are saying no to that transactional work. They just want
to tell you something that we just heard from a client the other day, a new prospect who had gone through interviewing firms like crazy and ended up here. He said, in the last 90 days, I've learned more about what accounting firms won't do than what they will do. And it's like the no, we won't do that, or no, we can't do that. It's not going to last for very long. So we're like, yeah, we can do that. Now we got to go figure out how, but it's not for everything. You
right.
can't do it.
I feel like, we have 2 minutes left, but I want to leave it on that note because I think that's pretty profound in itself. But Chris, can you tell people how to contact you if there's anybody that, finds what you're saying to be so informational and wants to reach out? I know you believe in giver's gain. You're happy to talk with folks about, what you've done wrong to get to what you're doing right. So can you share how firms can connect with you?
Yeah, you bet. The laundry list of things that I've done wrong is much longer than the things I've done right. It's just more fun to talk about. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to talk about the wrong too. Easiest way is chris.gallo@BerganKDV.com. It's CHRIS.GALLO.
Great. And with 1 minute left, I don't know, Dallo, was there any questions that anybody had for Chris? Did any questions come through? Does anybody have a question for Chris?
No questions at this time, but feel free to put them into the question or chat area.
Okay, let's give it a second. See if anybody has anything burning to ask you. I feel like I would love to spend another on the edge just talking about your 4 pillars and really digging into those 4, because there's like 4 within each 4, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error.
I'm sure I would love to see I need to fly out there and look at your whiteboards and just kind of see each pillar whiteboarding.
You're usually covered, but I just cleaned them up for you.
Cleaned it up for this. Thank you. All right, looks like there's no questions. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.